Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of my podcast. Today's podcast is called A Tough Realization. And as usual, I will begin this podcast with a quote. To realize one's destiny is a person's only obligation. And that's a quote by Paulo Coelho, and that's the author of The Alchemist. I just recently purchased and began to read a new book by the name of Battlecry by Jason Wilson. And this book is really awesome. It goes in depth about a lot of different things, some things that I knew, some things that I didn't know, and it puts a new spin on old ideas. It's really refreshing to read. And I try to get books that help me to dive deeper into an understanding of myself, the world, so I can build myself into the man that I want to be, that I ideally see in my mind. And this is definitely a book that does that. It helps me to reach a new level in who I'm trying to be and what I'm trying to become. I haven't even finished the whole book, and I've already learned, so much. I think I'm on like page 100 or something like that, and it has 190 something pages, I believe. So it's not a really long book, but it's a really impactful book, and it's a book that I recommend anybody to buy. It's something that you can definitely learn a lot from, and it's very helpful. Battlecry is a book where the author Jason Wilson does a great job of discussing the root cause of the internal battles that many men face within themselves and ways to win those battles as well, resulting in what the author calls the creation of a comprehensive man. So a lot of what it means to be a man, quote unquote, has been dictated by society. And some of those things aren't bad, like taking care of your family, maintaining your responsibilities, doing what you need to do instead of what you want to do. There's a lot of admirable things that society puts out there about being a man. However, on the flip side of that coin, there's a lot of negative things that, society puts out there about being a man as well. Society really doesn't make a place for men to express or experience emotions. They kind of look down on men for expressing or experiencing emotions, but men are ultimately human beings too. When we suppress those emotions, when we suppress parts of our personality, when we suppress parts of our intellect or mentality, we're not expressing our full selves. We're not expressing who we're meant to be. And when we suppress our mentality or aspects of ourselves and stuff like that, our emotions, that can cause issues. That could cause us to make decisions irrationally, or it can cause us to be spastic about behaviors that we choose to take part in. We're not expressing, we're not being our full self, because our emotions are a part of us as well. It fits into our whole concept of who we are. To act like you don't have emotions or you don't experience emotions is unhuman. Humans are emotional creatures, and it's a big part of us, our experience. So his book teaches us how to, be a comprehensive man. And I'm not gonna, dwell on that too much because I don't want to take nothing from his book. His book is really awesome, and I would encourage you to buy it. This book discusses in a new light a lot of the common topics that we have discussed on episodes of this podcast. Topics such as the ego, the importance of communication, and emotional intelligence, just to name a few. There's a lot of other topics that he covers, but he discusses a lot of what we have talked about in this podcast. It's important, it's important to that whole human concept that I've been talking about, the mind, body, and spirit, which is something that he also discusses. He takes a Christian point of view. He provides like scriptures, and he makes references to, I believe it's Hebrew words that he uses in his business and his training when he trains people as well. But I think that adds to the conversation, the way that he includes those aspects of the conversation definitely helps and doesn't take away from what he's trying to say and the impact of his message. However, as I have read further into the book, I came across a concept I've never heard of before. And that concept is the concept of a shadow mission. And this is something that I can't explain why it hit me so hard, but it hit me hard. Like once I was reading the book and I saw the shadow mission and I read that chapter, I was like, man, I've never heard of this. This is like something very powerful. And a lot of people should know about this, because the concept of a shadow mission is, you know, another aspect of your journey. It might be something that is a part of your journey and you don't even know about. And it could be a reason that's prohibiting you from being the best person that you could possibly be. And knowledge is power. And the application of that knowledge is your greatest power. So the more we read, the more we study, the more we learn and educate ourselves, the more we find out, what might be prohibiting us on our journey from being who we were meant to be. So just to recap, a mission in the most basic form of the definition is a strongly felt aim, ambition, or calling. It's something that you felt you were put on this earth to do. This is my mission. I was placed here to feed 1,000 people. I was put here to cook. I was put here to be the best general I could possibly be. I was put here to be the best pilot I could possibly be. It's something that you feel within yourself is a noble cause to take up and to, further, take it further than the people have before you, and do the best that you could do with that thing. When you're doing your mission, when you're in line with your purpose, you do it better than anybody else. Some people just become a lawyer for the money and stuff like that, which is, if that's what you want to do, then it's fine. That's what you want to do. But those who were meant to be lawyers, you could definitely tell, the way they just serve their clients, the way they present themselves in the courtroom, the fury that they have in looking up information, and the detail that they commit to their work is just uncanny. So, when somebody's in line with their mission, in line with their purpose, it's obvious. Everybody around is like, man, that person is so good at what he does. That person is natural at what he does. It's because they were born to do that, and they're living their purpose. They're living their calling. So when you're toeing the line, when you're on track to accomplish your mission, or you're living in your purpose, like it almost seems effortless. Like you were meant to do this. So what's a shadow mission? A shadow mission is an inauthentic mission that has been derailed, often in imperceptible ways. Part of what makes the shadow mission so tempting is that it's usually so closely related to our gifts and passions. It's not 180 degrees off track, it's just 10 degrees off track. So a shadow mission is a mission that we take up, that we embark upon, that we feel is our calling or our purpose, but it's not. We're living something that, it's not our battle to fight. It's not our mission to complete. And the deadliest part about a shadow mission is that last sentence. It's not 180 degrees off track. It's just 10 degrees off track. So you might not even be aware that you're embarking on this mission, and it's not yours to embark on. Everybody has something that they're good at. Everybody has, an aspect of a piece of the mission that they can bring to the table. In the military, everybody's not an infantryman. It's not everybody's job to go out on the field and shoot and do all this other stuff. Some people are logistical support. Some people's job is to get information to people as quick as possible. And it's not talking down on anybody's job, because everybody's job is important in its own right. It's just saying everybody isn't called for the same mission. So if you're an information specialist and your job is to obtain maps and information on the enemy, but you're trying to live the life of a grunt where your job is to close with and destroy the enemy, your job, your mission, your department is going to lack and is going to miss out, because you're not doing what you're supposed to do. You're not on mission. You're not on task. Your task isn't to do what the infantry does. Your task is to collect, gather, and disseminate information. So that's a practical way to kind of explain like the shadow mission. When you're embarking on a shadow mission, you're off track, you're off mission. So you're not going in the direction that you need to go. So the ways in which a mission differs from a shadow mission. A shadow mission exhausts you, while a true mission energizes you. A shadow mission comes from guilt and insecurity, while a true mission comes from freedom and love. A shadow mission is about you, while a true mission involves you, but others mostly. It's about service. A shadow mission leads to resentment, while a true mission lets you serve no matter the response. A shadow mission makes you feel more distant from your true calling, while a true mission brings you closer to it, and you're living it and walking in it. When we embark on these shadow missions, we are on the line for several different purposes, or several different reasons. I'm sorry, I apologize. We are misaligned for several different reasons. Some of them can be identified as improperly knowing your purpose, or identifying or aligning with a goal that somebody else has placed on you, or you're living somebody else's dreams, like your parents, your teachers, your athletic director, stuff like that. And the biggest one is not letting go of the baggage that you're carrying through life, like not dealing with traumas and the things that happen to you at various ages. And it's important. We've talked about going to counselors and dealing with your trauma, because when you don't deal with that trauma, again, it doesn't allow you to express your full self. It doesn't allow you to walk in the purpose that you've been placed on yourself to live, because having that trauma prohibits you from expressing your full personality, your full and living in your full experience on this earth. So again, I really, really, really emphasize the importance of going to a therapist. And Jason Wilson in his book talks about how he and his wife went to marriage counseling, how he went to therapy to deal with the issues, how he forgave, and other things that he took part in that freed up space and real estate, in his emotions, the emotional real estate that we discussed. The longer we continue to pursue these shadow missions, the longer that we stay away from our true mission. When you go to work and you clock in doing a 9 to 5 or whatever shift you do, and you're not happy, you hate getting out of bed, you hate dragging yourself to work. You just know it's something you do for the money, something you do for the benefits. Is not what you want to do. You're just doing it to doing it. You're not living your purpose. You're not living your mission. You're doing something out of necessity rather than out of want or desire. And a lot of times when we live in that capacity, we don't express our full selves. We don't live life to the fullest. Your brain can either be in two modes. That's survival mode or creative mode. And if you're living in survival mode, you can't be creative. So we need to make space for ourselves to be creative, even if we have to do what we have to do for the time being, even if we have to do what we need to do for the time being, still create space for you to be able to express your creativity. Read on the side, get a side hustle that aligns with what you want to do, and build that on the side until that can be your primary source of income. Find little creative ways to express yourself instead of constantly just trying to keep yourself down based on the reality that you perceive you have to experience or you have to take part in. Because we always have a choice. It's always up to us what we decide to do and what we want to do. You can find your true calling by taking time to be alone. It's important that we be alone sometimes, and people really don't appreciate the value of being alone and deep reflection and meditating and just listening to your thoughts and silence. The silence can be very loud, and that sounds a little bit confusing, but if you meditate and stuff, you'll understand that the silence can be extremely loud. So taking part in deep reflection, healing through going to a therapist or whatever you need to do to deal with your traumas, mental, spiritual, physical, whatever you got to do to get to that next level, to get past the hurdles that you face. And then ultimately coming to the realization that your current shadow mission is not your fight. Now, this can be really hard. It's something that I've had to face, and it's almost like facing cognitive dissonance, and we've talked about cognitive dissonance, how you've lived the truth for so long, and then in living that truth, somebody comes and tells you like, hey, this isn't true, or hey, this isn't real. And then your mind faces that, this can't be true type of scenario, where your mind is just going berserk trying to identify reasons why what they're saying is not true. So I felt a little bit of cognitive dissonance when I looked over my life and I realized some of the things that I've embarked on, some paths that I've decided to go down, were shadow missions. It wasn't my burden to carry, and I justified it to myself, and I made reasons why it was, and stuff like that, stuff that we've all experienced. But ultimately, at the end of the day, like when I'm 100% true with myself, I know that those missions weren't mine to take up. My calling was something different. Oftentimes, it will not be easy for you to lay down a mantle that you have carried for so long, but in battle, there will be many times you will have to disengage one target and acquire another. So a mission is like the grand concept, the grand scheme. And within the mission, depending on the mission set, or what you're trying to accomplish, you can have many different battles. Not all missions are accomplished in one battle. So during those missions, you might have to readjust your sights. You might, talking on a small scale and on a large scale, you might, during one battle, you might be tackling one hurdle, one enemy, that enemy disappears or goes down, then you go to another target, another enemy, and you just keep re-engaging as targets appear. That's on a small level. On a grand level, on a big scheme, sometimes your mission may be to do one thing, and then you see that that's counterproductive. So you need to change sights and change your mission focus to something else, so that you can accomplish your goal, your end state. So there's nothing wrong with changing, your mission, changing your goals. I'm not saying give up on your mission, on the mission that's true to you. Now, it's okay to give up on shadow missions and things that don't serve you, and letting go of your baggage and things in that realm and in that area. But when it comes to your true calling, your true mission and stuff like that, when it gets hard and when it gets difficult and it seems insurmountable, you still gotta push through. You still gotta pave the way. You don't know who you're helping behind you in future generations. Suffering is the way. And David Goggins just doesn't say that. They say that in Buddhism as well, and several other places, throughout religion and throughout philosophy and stuff like that. So it's not unique to David Goggins, but David Goggins definitely brings it forward. And we've talked about that before. So ultimately, the purpose of this podcast is to stress the importance of being honest with yourself and reflecting on the actions that you take. The reason that you may not be living to your greatest potential is because you might be engaged in a mission that isn't yours to carry out. Get by yourself, reevaluate what you're doing, where you're at in life. Is your focus on the right things? Are you taking time out of the day to invest in yourself, whether that's reading, whether that's meditating, whether that's going for a walk in the park, working out? What are you doing to help you be a better person and to better prepare you to accomplish your mission and to carry out your goals for life, or fulfill the purpose that you had on this earth? A lot of us have shadow missions. A lot of us are living missions that are not ours. We're carrying burdens that are not ours to carry. We're picking up mantles and fights that are not our mantles or fights to carry. We need to just let go of that weight. When I was in the military, and we used to do ruck marches where you put a backpack full of stuff on your back and then you take off for a certain distance, which simulates, being in war and stuff, when you got to move from one location to another, when you don't have the privilege of using vehicles. You got to ruck, and you got to carry all the weight that's necessary for you to exist and for you to be able to execute your mission properly. So your ruck can get heavy. Mine got heavy sometimes. And One thing they used to always tell us is that ounces turn into pounds. So if you got it might not look like it's a lot when you're packing socks and shirts and toothbrush, toothpaste, like little things that normally don't weigh a lot. But when you add that all together in your pack, and you got extra uniform, you got boots, you got water, you got whatever else you're carrying with you to be able to sustain yourself, those ounces, those things that were so small, ultimately and cumulatively, they turn into pounds. So if you compare that to the same way, when you're carrying traumas through life, and when you're carrying, you know, indecision and a lot of these other negative qualities that are like energy drainers. They may seem little at first, but when you've been carrying that same trauma or that same negative energy for 20 years or whatever, 10 years, 5 years, that adds up. That adds up, and the weight of carrying that becomes heavier and heavier, and it affects your decisions, ultimately causing you to not live your purpose. So again, I would really recommend this book, especially for men. I think that's his audience in writing this book. The book is called Battlecry. It's by Jason Wilson. I will look it up on Amazon or wherever you purchase your books from. It's a great investment. I've talked to a lot of different men who said they have purchased the books. There's a lot of men's groups out there that are having the tough conversations that this book brings to the forefront of reality that we really need to have. And I think it's something that is gonna, change society in the way that we look at things, because the traumas that we face and the emotions that we don't express, and just the sides of our personality and ourselves that we let die or that we keep hidden, can be the reason that we make a lot of decisions that we make, and in the long run those decisions are hurting nobody but ourselves. And honestly, it can end up hurting a lot of other people as well, like your family, your friends, society as a whole. So again, take time to be by yourself, reflect, dig into who you are, what you want to do, and go forth and conquer.